Okay, so we are in the garage, and this is a spray cabinet that I kind of made myself, and give you a side view. It's on casters, so we can wheel it in and out of the way. It's got fans built in, and we have little tiger tails that we throw underneath the garage door. We open that up just a few inches and toss those out, and it does a really, really good job of exhausting a lot of the fumes out of the garage. I wanted to drill holes in the garage door, but Mrs. BG wasn't too big on that idea, so it is what it is. So what we did was we did a, what we do? Oh yeah, we did a wet sanding with 3000 grit Tamiya sanding sponges. And that showed us that we had a few thin spots here and there that we weren't completely aware of, which is great. That's great. I don't mind finding out now that we had some thin spots. So we're going to hit it again with another coat all over. And we got the firewall, that's going to be body color as well. And then, of course, the hood, which had a couple of thin spots also. We'll get that all grayed out, and then we'll put it in the, well, I kind of call it the curing room, and I'll show you what that's about here in a sec. So on this corner of the garage, we have what we call the curing cabinet. And this was a spray booth that we had gotten a while ago, and had the idea of turning it into a spray booth. But it didn't really work out very well for a number of reasons, but we'll get into that some other time. But for right now, we have it sealed off pretty well. Dust doesn't get in there, and it's a great space for just letting stuff cure. So it does seal up real nice, and there's a good space in there. So the Chevy fits in there perfectly. We've already had that in there for the last pass of curing. And I mean, it gets pretty warm here in the garage. It'll get up to 100 degrees, especially if we have the car parked in here after driving it. It gets pretty dang warm. But the cabinet actually seems to stay relatively cool. I mean, if the garage is about 97 degrees, it'll be about 85 degrees in there, which isn't too bad. So I'm not worried about warping any styrene or anything like that. So I'm going to get on to spraying, and then we'll check back a little bit later. Okay, so our Chevy body's all nice and tucked away for now. And the painting process went really, really simple. I do have a few little bits of trash on the roof, to be expected on painting something so huge, but nothing that we can't handle. So yeah, we're going to let that cure up for several hours, and then we'll take a look at it and see if we can wet sand out some of the little bits of trash that ended up in there. And then we'll move on to the white primer color coat. And I think we're only going to need to do white primer on the roof, and we'll do body color directly over the gray primer for the rest of the car. So that's the plan, but we'll see how it goes. And now it's been about 3 hours since I put on the primer, and we just did a wet sanding, and the roof is looking really good. So we're going to move on to putting on the white primer, changing just to change the tone of the gray so we can have a nice base for our top coat. And again, we're using the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer, and we have the rest of the body masked off with about 6 yards of masking tape, so that we don't change the color value of the body color that we're going to use. So we're going to go ahead and shoot this guy and see how it turns out. So the first coat of white, we have a little bit of tiger striping going on. Not horrible, but it's totally fixable. So this is just a pass, and then we'll let this set up, and then do a little bit of wet sand, because we do have little fuzzies in there. So we'll do let that set up, and then do a pass, and then set up and do a pass. So we're going to keep alternating like that in order to build up the most even coverage that we can, because the color that we're going to use on the top of this is going to be Tamiya Racing White, and that is a very translucent white sometimes, so we have to do a nice white base for it, and then just add the color on top of that. All right, cool. Okay, so I hope you can hear me over the fans going, but we just did another quick wet sand and another layer of white primer. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, a few little rough spots here and there, but that's fine. Again, we're still wet sanding and painting as we go along. So this is the second coat of white on this. That makes it the total of 4 coats of primer on there now. And I think I like the coverage on this to the point where we'll let this set up, do another wet sand, and then attempt to do our gloss coat with the Tamiya Racing White. I think that's TS7. So yeah, we're looking really good.